The unspeakable terror I found hidden in my friend's mansion. In the bleak, unyielding hours of the night, when the world lies shrouded in silence, sleep has become a distant stranger to me, driven away by the unspeakable horror I uncovered in a place where no such terror should dwell. Allow me, if you dare, to weave for you a tale so steeped in dread, so laden with the grotesque, that it may cling to your thoughts like a shadow in the moonlight, haunting your dreams as it has mine. This is no mere recounting of events, but a descent into a nightmare that unfolded within the walls of a grand estate, a tale I share in the hope that speaking it aloud might exorcise the specter that grips my soul. If you are drawn to the macabre, to stories that chill the blood and stir the darkest corners of the imagination, then listen closely, for what follows is a chronicle of an abomination that defies reason and stains the very fabric of humanity. Some months ago, my old friend Evan, who had risen from the humble circumstances of our childhood to amass a fortune that set him apart from the struggles we once shared, acquired a sprawling mansion on the desolate outskirts of our small town. This was no ordinary dwelling, but a multi-million-dollar monument to extravagance, custom-built in the 1980s, its grandeur undimmed by the passage of time. As boys, we had once crept through its shadowed grounds on a Halloween night, hurling rolls of toilet paper into its towering trees, laughing in the reckless abandon of youth, unaware of the darkness that would one day lurk within. Now, Evan, flush with wealth, sought to claim this estate as a second home, a retreat from the demands of his opulent life. As a carpenter by trade, skilled in the art of shaping wood and breathing life into structures, I was summoned to inspect the property before he committed to its purchase, to ensure that its bones were as sound as its facade suggested. I wandered through the mansion's labyrinthine halls, my footsteps echoing on polished floors, my eyes drinking in the meticulous craftsmanship that defined every corner. The house was a marvel, its surfaces free of blemish, its structure unmarred by the ravages of time, no trace of mold, no whisper of rot, only the gleam of a home maintained with obsessive care. The previous owner, an elderly man who had met his end within these walls, had evidently poured his soul into its upkeep, ensuring that every detail, from the gleaming fixtures to the oiled machinery of its systems, remained in pristine condition. There were 4 bedrooms, each with its own lavish bath, a cavernous kitchen, a stately living room, a study lined with shelves that begged for leather-bound tomes, a laundry room, and a warren of closets, all adorned with the finest materials money could buy. It was, by all accounts, a turnkey masterpiece, a house that required no labor beyond the whims of taste, new paint perhaps, or cabinets to suit a modern palate. Yet, amidst this splendor, there existed a singular anomaly, a room that seemed to defy the very purpose of a home. Evan's voice, tinged with a curiosity that bordered on unease, drew my attention to it. "What of that room?" he asked, and I knew instantly to which he referred, for it stood apart from the rest, a discordant note in the symphony of the house's design. Tucked at the far end of a second-floor corridor, it was a chamber that seemed to hold its breath, as if guarding a secret too terrible to utter. Upon entering, I found myself confronted by a space tiled entirely in sterile, unyielding white, floor, walls, ceiling, all gleaming with an unnatural cleanliness that evoked the cold precision of a surgical ward rather than the warmth of a home. At first glance, one might have mistaken it for an unfinished bedroom, but the absence of fixtures, the lack of any plumbing or fittings, dispelled such notions. There was only a single electrical outlet, stark against the white expanse, and a small, ominous hole pierced through one of the wall tiles, its purpose shrouded in mystery. I confessed my bewilderment to Evan, admitting that in all my years of working with homes, I had never encountered such a peculiar space. "It's bizarre," he replied, his brow furrowed as he recounted what the previous owner's daughter had told him. "There had been a machine in that room," she said, "a device connected to the wall by a tube, removed before the house was listed for sale. What its function had been, she could not say, and the mystery of it hung between us like a specter." I shrugged, attempting to dismiss the unease that prickled at the edges of my mind. The world's full of strange contraptions these days, I said, half in jest. Refrigerators with televisions, toilets that might soon sprout robotic arms to tend to one's every need. Who can keep up? But setting aside that oddity, the house is flawless. A coat of paint, new cabinets if you insist, but truly, it's ready as is. Evan nodded, his gaze lingering on the door to that strange room. I agree.
He said, "But that room, it unsettles me. I'd want to do something with it. Keep it in mind, because I'm likely to buy this place, and we'll need to decide what to make of it." After deliberation, we devised a plan to erase the room's strangeness by tearing down a wall, merging it with an adjacent, smaller bedroom to create a grand second master suite. Its southern exposure to be enhanced by new windows that would flood the space with light. The project, I estimated, would take a couple of months, a prospect that suited me well. I relished the idea of settling into a single site, free from the constant upheaval of moving between jobs, packing tools, and navigating the unique frustrations of each new work site. Yet, from the moment I began work in that accursed room, my enthusiasm withered, replaced by a creeping dread that seemed to emanate from the very walls. The white tiles, covering every inch like the sterile confines of an asylum, seemed to watch me, their cold surfaces reflecting not light, but an oppressive, unspoken malice. My first task was to strip them away, a labor that took days as I pried each one loose and hauled them outside, transforming the room from an enigma into something resembling a construction site. With the tiles gone, I turned to the drywall, which had been marred beyond salvage by the removal process. My plan was to strip it down to the framing, install the new windows, and eventually breach the wall to the adjoining room, delaying that step to minimize the spread of dust through the house. I'll never forget the day I began tearing into the exterior wall, where the windows would soon be set. There's a certain joy in demolition, in swinging a hammer with abandon and watching the wall give way, chunks of sheetrock falling to the tarp below. The house, I noted with satisfaction, was well insulated, its spray foam a testament to its quality, promising savings on heating and cooling for Evan, whose wealth rendered such concerns trivial, but whose home deserved such care. It was in the midst of this work, as I yanked away a section of drywall, that I uncovered the first hint of the horror that awaited. There, pressed against the insulation, ran a clear tube, its interior stained a dark, ominous brown, as if it had carried some foul substance. I paused, my heart quickening, puzzled by its presence. What purpose could such a thing serve? Another tube, this one free of staining, but lined with beads of clear liquid, soon emerged, heightening my unease. A primal instinct, raw and unyielding, warned me of something unspeakably wrong, yet curiosity, damnable, insatiable curiosity, urged me to press on. I tore away another sheet, and there, less than a foot from my face, protruded 10 gnarled, yellowed toes, half buried in the insulation, their long nails curling like claws. I staggered back, my breath catching in my throat, as I muttered, "God in heaven, what is this?" My hand found my phone, instinct screaming to call the police, but I hesitated, gripped by a morbid need to know the full extent of this abomination. If I surrendered the scene, I might never learn what lay hidden behind that wall. With trembling hands, I pried loose another section of drywall, taking care to keep it intact, revealing a sight that seared itself into my soul. A woman, naked and emaciated, her flesh sagging, as if in a desperate bid to flee her tortured frame. Tubes snaked into her body, one into her stomach, another into her loins, a third rising from her mouth toward the roof. Her eyes, milky and wide, stared blankly into the void. I thought her dead, until, with a slow, deliberate motion, those eyes blinked. I collapsed, retching, my phone slipping from my grasp as my body shook with terror. The beads of water in one tube suggested she had lived, perhaps until mere days ago. Frantic, I tore at the remaining wall, dust and debris clouding the air as I uncovered her face, her sagging flesh a grotesque mask of suffering, her existence a mockery of life. The police were summoned, and they sealed the house, taking over the investigation. What I've pieced together since is a nightmare too vile to fully comprehend. That woman, I believe, was entombed within that wall for years, sustained by a grotesque system of tubes, one to carry her waste to the sewer, another to feed her rainwater from the gutters, a third connected to the machine that had been removed, likely grinding food to pump into her stomach.
She had starved since its removal, surviving only on what little water the rains provided. The previous owner, a man of wealth and respectability, a pillar of the community, must have known, perhaps even orchestrated this horror, encasing her in spray foam and drywall, a secret buried in his opulent manor. I've not slept since that day, my mind unraveling into shadows of what I found. The woman's identity, her tormentor's motives, remain shrouded in darkness. If you wake each morning free from such horrors, count yourself blessed, for I am not so fortunate. This tale, dear listener, is now yours to bear. Sleep well, if you can.